What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Champion Living Podcast, where we believe that consistency, perseverance, and not taking life too seriously are the keys to success. I'm Doug, the founder and owner and head coach of Champion Living Fitness. Each week, I'll be joined by my coaching staff with the vision of providing trustworthy information about fitness, nutrition, and mindset, and how this all applies to being a professional rodeo athlete, as well as people from all walks of life. Are you ready to become a champion? Let's go. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Champion Living Podcast, the only podcast crossing the lines between the sport of rodeo and fitness. Today's episode, we have a very special guest, Cooper Davis. How are you today, brother?
Pretty good, man.
Man, we're fired up to have you on. We've been chatting about your guys' whole story as a team over there in Carolina, but you and Sage in particular, about some transitions you guys have made this year, and we're excited to have you on today and kind of get into it.
Interesting fact real quick. I think Cooper might be the first PBR world champion that we've ever had on.
Yeah, I think you're right.
We've had plenty of PRCA world champions, and I don't think we've ever had a PBR world champ.
That's pretty cool.
That is cool.
Back.
That is really cool. You won the world?
I did start my career in the rodeo world, so
Yes, you did.
not a complete, just a PBR guy.
No, actually, I have a really good story with you. I don't know if you remember this. We were probably still in college, but we were in Killdeer, North Dakota at the rodeo there over that. And then we made that run. I was putting my rigging on and I had no one there with me. And I found you and I was like, Coop, will you help me? You're like, yeah, I really don't know what I'm doing, but I'll help. It's like, sweet. And he's like, she's in the back alley, the chute, before we actually get her in the chutes. And we're trying to put her on. I remember I was like, hey, man, just hold this real quick. I'm going to reach over here and grab a hook. And right in between our transition of switching hands, she like bucked and my rig went in the buck and shoot with her. And old man Corco ripped my ass for so long about that. And he's like, you're going to kill this horse. You're going to mess her up. You're not even getting on her. He runs over my rigging and we finally get it on her. Oh, it was a good stuff. But I firmly remember that ass chewing. It's one of the best I ever got.
I got plenty of them in the rodeo world.
Yeah.
A lot of those guys were old and grouchy, but that's what made it so fun.
Oh, absolutely. You can get under their skin a little. So you got your did you college rodeo at all?
No, I didn't. I fully intended to, but once I started rodeoing, college took a back seat and I dropped out in about 2 months. So didn't last very long in college.
That was, my brother did the same thing, but it seems to be working out okay for both of you.
No regrets.
Man, to start this off, I kind of want to jump into your day-to-day life. Obviously, you're a great bull rider. That's your entire life, but what does your life look like outside of bull riding?
Well, right now, Mondays are usually like a spa day and trying to get my body back in shape. But for me, I love to spend time with my family. My son, he's big into baseball right now, so that takes up a lot of my time, especially after 3 o'clock when he gets out of school. But, for me, the most important part of my life right now is being able to spend time with them and be the best dad that I can be a good example for him. Whenever I'm not riding, I'm trying to take care of my body. I'm working out, but each day it looks a little bit differently. Monday is kind of like a revamp day, stretching from the weekend, ice baths, spa, that type of deal. And Tuesday, Wednesday are my harder workouts. And then Thursday is almost kind of like a Monday again, to where I'm trying to stretch and be ready for the weekend. So not a whole lot of time for recovery, but that's kind of typically what I try to do.
I love that. We'll just dive into the physical training right now.
Yeah.
It's because it'll kind of tie into how you kind of balance everything. Because that's one of my other questions, how you balance doing all these things with being there for your family and kind of doing these hobbies. But as for the training, we talk about this every day or every episode almost, talking about individual days having their purpose that you're focused on. And Monday being that, we call it a mobility day or like a recovery day, right? Taking care of your body. And there's not a lot of guys that do that. When you are looking at setting up your week, do you have a coach or are you setting it up? Is it individualized training? Or are you following a cookie cutter program? What does that look like for you?
No, I had a coach for a long time. I learned a lot from him. But right now, I'm trying to listen to my body and listen to what my body needs. I think that's huge. Guys get stuck into this cookie cutter mode where they get in repetition, which is good to an extent. But for me, I'm at the age now where I need to listen to my body and the things that need to be worked on and tweaked. That's what I try to focus on. So lower back's bothering me. I try to stretch and get that worked out before I go to something else. So to me, it's more about listening to my body than just getting into a cookie cutter routine.
That's
Yeah.
and you.
Yeah.
How many years of training did you have with that coach before?
From 2017 to 2022. So I had a lot of time with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's trained a lot of football athletes and baseball. And, I think that's one thing that he started really trying to focus on, like what you guys do. And that's like dive into, okay, what does your body need? And, the longer I worked out with him, the more we kind of critiqued that. And it was super helpful. His name's Aaron Garrett, but he was a super great dude. And yeah, I learned so much from him as far as like working out what my body needs to be at the peak.
Dude, that's so cool to hear because we talk about as coaches, if we've done our job correctly and somebody's been with us for an amount of time like that, they don't need us anymore to design the workouts. They should learn and know why they are doing the things we're doing. And, that's not great for our business model, but as coaches, it's the best thing that we do. And I have multiple athletes. RC Landingham is one I worked with for 4 or 5 years. And I don't train him anymore. And it broke my heart because I love working with him. But at the same time, I'm watching him compete now and watching him. He still texts me and asks me questions about training, but he learned so much from what we're doing. He doesn't need me. He can hold himself accountable and do all those things. So to hear how much information you learn from your coach and you're able to use that now and appropriately that's what the whole investment is about. And when you hire a coach, so like that's just a small shout out to anybody out there. If you have a coach and you don't know what you're doing, or you don't feel like you're learning, that should be a huge part of the process.
It's good to learn, not rely on just them to teach you every day. I mean, if you can pick little bits and pieces of what they're trying to show you, then I think that's huge. And for me, being with him for 5 years, heck, it was more or less getting to hang out with him every day and be motivated. To me, like that's a big thing. That's once you have learned so much from somebody, there's still something you can take from him. I mean, he was a big motivator as well. So yeah, it was an awesome experience. Learned a lot and still using it today.
Are you lifting weights at all? Nope. So
So
mostly
right
body weight
now,
bands.
yeah, right now all I'm doing is body weight, core exercises. For me, I'll get on a barrel every now and then, but like I don't want to be super like ripped up right now. Like to me, like I need the muscles to be strong where I need them to be strong to be at my best. So, a lot of these muscles are hard to reach from just going and picking up a weight. Can't do that. So, everything I do is weightless, just body weight.
If someone walked in and you were working out, what would they think? What would you think their immediate reaction would be?
Like,
Yeah, I
it's
love
not
that, dude.
typical workouts.
Yeah, I love it. We were talking about my wife and I are expecting our first kid in January, and she's doing, all these exercises to help her get ready for delivery. And I'm watching her in the gym do it, and I'm like, literally, all of those would be perfect for rodeo athletes. Every single
Oh
one of
yeah.
these exercises, right? It's very little, but it is way tougher than you think, and it's so crucial to the longevity in the sport if this is what you want to do for a long time, right?
Absolutely. And, for me, making the decision just to do teams, and that's what it was all about. It's not because I didn't love to ride bulls. It was because I love to ride bulls so much that I want to be able to do this for 5 more years. And selfishly, the way that I can do that is not get on 100 bulls a year and get on 35. Now, the sport's evolving in so many ways, but teams right now is a big deal. And we get to have Sean Scott go around with us and go over stretches with us during the event too. But it was a selfish decision for me to just say, hey, I'm going to take myself out of the UTB side and just focus on doing these PBR teams.
If you had $1 for every time we talked about you on this podcast, you'd have like $25 because we brought it up. I love it. I think it's the future of the sport. Anytime that competition volume goes down, the longevity it's just such a cool concept. I'm really excited to have you on today because of that. I really want to pick your brain about that.
I mean,
Yeah, you've kind of been the poster boy because I think when teams first came around, that was like one of our hypothesis around it was like, like, hey, maybe this is the opportunity where guys don't have to go get on 100 bulls a year. And then, you stepped out and did it, and we were like, let's go. Like Cooper's going to be the poster boy for this theory that we have, and we're going to get to see how it plays out. And I think you started off maybe like 9 out of 10 or 8 out of 9 of your first bulls. So, I mean, as far as performance goes, it seemed like it helped as well.
Yeah, no, it definitely did. And for me, it was nerve wracking wondering, hey,
I'm sure.
I'm just jumping out on a limb thinking this is going to work. But it was a little nerve wracking at first, thinking I'm not going to get on a whole bunch of bulls here for 9 months and then I'm just going to jump right back in the swing of things. Being able to take care of my body for that duration was huge. Like, I showed up and I felt like I was 18 again.
Mhm.
And it was just like such a great feeling, especially in going into training camp, like seeing what kind of shape I was in compared to everybody else, which they weren't in bad shape, but I've got 18-year-old kids in there that, they're in great shape. So felt really good about that. But yeah, I mean, the PBR teams for me is I enjoy being on a team. I enjoy the guys on my team. And I always liked the Global Cup stuff. So like I knew it was going to be fun when teams were invented, but I like having those guys depend on me. Like that's huge. That's my motivator. That, my family. Like that's the two things that I need to get me going.
Dude, that's really awesome. So when you took that break, it was almost like a reset for your body. You had to take some steps back to get everything right. So then you could take those steps forward and get to where you are now. A year seems like an eternity, a season, right? When you're in the middle of it. But if we could tell you that if you took that year off and did things correctly, you could come back and feel like you're 18 again, like you just said. I think that, I would hope that majority of the guys would do it and take that time to do it, because it is those kinds of things, especially after that amount of not trauma, but you've been on a ton of bulls your entire life leading up to then. You have been wrecked out because injuries happen in bull riding. It'll never reverse itself without taking that time off.
Guys don't realize either, like, you start having groin issues or you start having lower back issues. Like, you start trying to, like, work with that injury. Like, your body's going to go a different route. It's not going to go the way that it needs to go. You're going to compensate with the things that really you don't understand that you are until you get into a slump. So for me, it's being able to take that time off. I got on two bulls from November to July. And, it's just like riding a bike. Like, there was no, well, I'm going to ease back into this. No, I got on two bulls and I felt just like I'd never lost a step. It's all a mindset when it comes to getting on the bulls, but it's more physical when it comes to being able to do what you need to do on the back of them.
Yeah, I think it's probably safe to assume that when you showed up at the first event, you were probably the healthiest guy in the locker room or in the whole league. Because
sure.
like, there's not a time that you don't get on a bull with a bump, a bruise, a sprain, or a strain, no matter how well it goes. And so when you take that amount of time off and you're only getting on two, like, you're jumping back into the heat of the busiest time of competition for the teams, and you're the only one without any of those bumps, bruises, sprains, strains, you name it. So like I said, we've been looking forward to seeing how this plays out because we thought it was going to go really, really well for you. And so it's been really cool to watch so far.
Not only healthy, but hungry.
Yeah.
Did you experience when you're getting on 100+ bulls a year and going, and it's like, oh, cool, got to leave my family again and again and again. You had that break, you never really wanted to, you said you never wanted to stop riding bulls. You still love riding bulls, but we all know it can be a grind out there when it's every single weekend. Did you notice a big like increase in like your hunger or desire that that you feel like was playing a role in some of the success you're seeing?
I was the world's worst of, getting in the middle of the season, being number one or two in the world, and then just being like, man, I want to go home. Like, I just want to be around my wife or want to be around my kid. I would be one or two in the world and it would just all fall apart. But it's because I hated having to leave them. Like, I wanted to be home. And for me, like, that was tough. Like, knowing that how good I was, but also knowing that I didn't want to be there made it tough. But, for me, like, being able to take that time off, yes, I'd still go do the broadcast, and that was helpful as well. And I'll tell you why in a minute. But being able to do the broadcast, I only had to leave for one day, and I'd be back the same day. So that was 6 days at home, 1 day away. That was awesome. To answer your question in short form, it really did reinvigorate that hunger to want to. And, knowing that I have 35 chances, it makes me not want to let one of them slip through my fingers, which, obviously is going to at times. It doesn't make you immortal, but it does make you realize, hey, I've got 35 chances. Let's make the best of them.
I feel like it really just it shifts your mindset in a big way. Then everyone is very, very important, and everyone is you're just building confidence. And when you start doing that on this big stage over and over and over, it just gets contagious. And we're seeing that throughout your whole team. This whole season's been outstanding for you guys. I kind of want to talk about your mental toughness right now, because a lot of this that you're talking about is, in my eyes, I'd label it mental toughness, being able to take the breaks, listen to your body, and keep everything simple, and not only getting on 2 bulls in that time frame. Most guys would be freaking out thinking, I've lost a step, and it didn't lose any steps. So every athlete faces mental blocks, whether it's the arena, family, whatever it is. There are things that pop up. Can you think of a time that you faced like a significant mental barrier, whether it was bulls or life in general, and how you overcame that?
I've never been one to just get in my head on bull riding. To me, it's a privilege. It's not something that I have to do. I'm grateful that I have the talent and the ability to do it. Have I ever been in a slump? Yeah. But you go back and look at anybody that's ever done it at a high level, it's happened. The best way to get out of a slump is just to ride through it and get out of it. It doesn't mean that you don't spend more time in the gym or more time watching film, or doesn't make you not care, but you've got to be able to sit there and go to the root cause of it. Okay, let's fix it and let's get past it. There's always an answer to the problem. Find it and get past it.
And we mention it a lot on here, but we always, just look at the fundamentals, your A, B's, and C's. Like in bareback riding, when we coach it, or even bronc riding and bull riding, there's 3 or 4 things tops that get the job done, right? Everything else is just a side effect or a reaction to it. Usually when you look at things not going well, we're not doing one of those 3 or 4 things. So it's very simple, but it's also very easy to get in those rabbit holes. And you said, you're very good about keeping it simple and just riding through it. When I hear you say riding through it, I think I'm taking that as you're just getting back to those basics, and it's going to come together if I keep focusing on these things one way or another.
Yeah. And I hate to cut you off, but one thing we realized throughout this team process, the little injuries and stuff, they play a big part in your slumps, in the way that you ride. Heck, there's been a couple of times this year where, like I went back to Sean and said, man, I just felt like I wasn't getting to the front, or I wasn't leaving there in a strong position. There's a couple things that were causing me not to be able to get there. So I don't know. I think you can't make an excuse every time you fall off, but there's also things that you could learn to take care of better that maybe don't translate to a buck off.
Here's the deal. Lots of rodeo gear companies are coming out, but not all are equal. Beastmaster is really setting the bar when it comes to the equipment that is built for durability and designed for success in the arena. You guys can check them out at beastmasterrodeo.com. Use our discount code ChampionLiving24. That's ChampionLiving24. Going to save you a little bit at checkout. Mm-hmm. I got a pretty good example of that as well. I was talking to LB the other day, and he's going to have a hip replacement done after the finals, but we were looking at his rides, and he's like, this leg, though, where I'm having the replacement, it just never is as good as that other leg. And I'm like, it's not that it's not as good. It can't be as good because it's structurally, it's not there. Like, it's not able to do what that other leg does. So a lot of girls get in this funk, and they don't even realize that it's not that they're not able to do it. They physically can't because of what is happening with their body, and they need to take those steps back and look at what's going on, address the problem, reset, and then you'd be in a much better place. But we just always continue to press this button where we just do a little more. It'll buff out. Nope, it doesn't buff out. We've got to address it.
Hard. That's how we've been taught our whole life. Get through it.
Go ahead. That's just the rodeo mindset, get tough or die kind of. And what we've seen now, especially with the teams, is that transition to, you guys are athletes, and you need to treat yourselves like that to compete at this level. You have 35 opportunities to get on that year. Every one of them is worth $, plus I'm sure you guys have bonuses when you ride, like these things, or at least that's how some of these other teams are set up. There's a ton of opportunity, and there never has been one like this where you guys can have a life and still be able to rodeo and be on this stage. So it's just so cool to see. And really what I'm hearing is total adjustment from you, man, as in your mindset and everything that you do is you treat yourself like a professional. That sounds like an NFL player. Like when I'm listening, you talk about your day, you're going to the spa, getting massages, getting cold plunges, like whatever it is to get your body feeling right, because that is your job, to have your body feeling the most.
No, that's definitely it. There's guys depending on you to be at your top whenever you get there. So, that's another thing. If we walk back in that locker room and we didn't give it all, there's 6 or 7 guys sitting there staring at you wondering what the hell. So,
Like talking after the games
yeah. Oh yeah,
about what
especially on this team. This team is really a great group of guys. And, Sage is great to work with. Derek Kolbaba is awesome. Ethan Winkler, he's a young kid, but man, like every person on this team, they hold themselves accountable. So it's not necessarily that we have to point the finger like, hey, what were you doing? But like somebody falls off or they did something wrong, they're the first guy to step up and say, hey man, that's on me. And that's huge.
that comes from leadership, man. That comes from you being captain, from your coaching staff, from Miss Tiffany. Like everyone there is,
Yeah.
you guys, no excuses. You get the job done. Constructive criticism to help each other out. Like as on our team here, we have those talks all the time. They're not the funnest, but after them, they are the best thing we've done. Having good leadership, man, it says a lot about you and about how you hold yourself and how those guys see that and make themselves rise up to that level. And Sage as well, and Derek, like you guys are all seasoned veterans,
Really a great group of guys. And Tuesday we'll go back through every ride. We'll get on a phone call or a Zoom call, and as a team we'll go back through everything, the good and the bad. Like, the bad stuff, we'll figure out how to work through it. We try to keep a level mindset throughout. That's something we talked about at training camp, and everybody's like, man, what's y'all's secret? Well, our secret is holding our standards super high individually and as a team, and being able to be dependable throughout the week, knowing that every guy's going and putting in the work in the gym and making himself better. So holding our standard high has been, I think, the key.
You guys have an interesting team culture, and we could see this developing early on. Kansas City, Carolina, like the first couple of years, you guys are getting together, you're holding each other accountable, you're doing things together. Like you could see a culture forming, and now it's shining through, and those two teams are 1 and 2 in the standings. And now something interesting I've noticed on the post-ride interviews, it's never Kate will ask, like, how did the ride go or whatever. And everybody on Carolina's team is always deferring back to like, well, this is how we work on this team, or this is how we operate on this team. So like, what role do you think like culture plays in y'all's success so far this year?
I think it's huge. When the team was being put together, we wanted guys that came from the rodeo world because they had been there. They know how to struggle. They know how to get out of a struggle. They know how to go up and down the road and fight and get out of it. So that was a big deal whenever we were coming up with the teams, as who we wanted on our team. Sage being the number one guy. Like, how do you win 7 world titles going up and down the road? Well, you got to be great physically, but you also have to be great mentally. And, that's a huge thing. Adriano Salgado obviously didn't come from the rodeo world, but still has the same mindset. Like a super great guy to work with, hard worker. And like he bought into the team. And that's what everybody has to do, is buy in and be all in as one. And that's been great.
Dude, that's what those other teams are missing. I can tell you it 100% firsthand. I hope these other teams are listening, because they're going to get the secret sauce. Like this, that's it. That is the sauce. And, Sage is awesome. And his mindset is wild. I've got the chance to work with Sage for a few years while he was rodeoing, and some of the conversations I've had with him, I've heard things come out of his mouth that I've never heard from anybody else. I'm like, wow, this dude gets it and really, really understands how everything works. And it's cool to see you guys together. Is everyone English speaking on the team? Okay.
I mean, we've got Robson there. He'll translate a little bit.
I was going to ask about how you would work with a team and create that culture if somebody wasn't able to speak English. Would it be through translators or whatever? I worked with the Ridge Riders their first year, and they were 50-50, man. Like 50% spoke English, and the other was like Portuguese, and they did not understand English at all. And watching them through the team building, it was tough because of the language barrier. And you could tell they didn't really want to try to figure each other out. They weren't willing to put that effort in. I was curious how you would address something like that.
Well, I mean, one thing is like we're trying to figure out in Portuguese, like the words, to help them get motivated in the shoot. Ivesa, or, like little things like that. Like we're trying to learn their culture, because whenever they come over here, they've got no choice. But like, it's easy for an American to just say, well, I don't speak Portuguese. But, like little things like the Lord's Prayer, like we're all trying to learn how to say that in Portuguese, because that's their big thing. Right before they get on, they all get together and they say the Lord's Prayer. So like we're trying as Americans to do our part to build that bond, and they do more than us probably, but we're doing our part in saying, okay, well, we're going to try to learn how to speak Portuguese at least to a point where we can motivate you and be there, for you in whatever way we can. But
Man, yeah, I just got chills a little bit because like that, like trying to put myself in their shoes, which is impossible, but like coming over here, the unknowns are endless, but just the simple fact that you're trying to hit those big points of learning something that's important to their culture in their language, like the Lord's Prayer, or being able to motivate them in their native tongue shows how much you care about them.
Mm-hmm.
And that only further helps that buy-in for the team aspect, I think, on their side. So I think that's huge, man.
our training camp, we went through a process of what each guy does that makes him tick before he gets on. We know what every person does, what they need as far as motivation goes. Like for me, I can be on the back of the chutes and you don't have to worry about me. But a younger guy like Ethan, he likes to get fired up. So like you want to be able to motivate the person in the right way, not just like, don't come slap me on the back and slap me in the head. Like, I don't need that. But
I don't
Ethan,
want that.
no, like don't do
Don't
that.
touch me. Yeah.
Or Dalen doesn't like to be touched in the shoe. Like, so I mean, like it's little things that like we try to learn about each other to better each other, and it might be the little things like that that really set the team from the other teams.
It is.
Yeah, that definitely 100% is, because like Doug said, we've worked with a couple other teams, and it's primarily a bunch of individual contractors. The bull riders are all just individual contractors that come together for an event, and there's virtually none of what you've talked about of the last 10 minutes that takes place in those locker rooms. And they might encourage each other a little bit or whatever, but it's all just super superficial. And it's just crazy how those little things, those little details are what make the difference in life. Not just in PBR teams, not just in rodeo, like in life, those little tiny details.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And your guys' team is invested in these things that make you all better together. And they don't necessarily make the appearance of you guys look, I don't want to say better. A lot of teams, other teams out there are investing in everything that makes them look cool, that looks them look rah, we're a team. But in behind the scenes, none of that is happening. You guys have invested in the opposite, everything that makes you a team. So I'm saying is these teams start investing in the correct things like y'all have, the look, the appearance will happen because of the performances and what's happening behind the scenes in that family and that culture. All these other teams are missing the boat big time. They're just hiring a bunch of fancy video guys. It makes no sense.
How much do you think that the ownership plays a part in that? Being that he is such a part of a big team in NASCAR, how much do you think that plays a part in him just knowing that kind of a background to help you guys?
Yeah, ownership's huge. We're blessed to have Mr. Richard and Austin Dillon. Honestly, consider those people like family. I've known Austin for a long time. So before they ever were buying a PBR team, I met him in the Bahamas on a trip with my wife, and we sit down at dinner, and I remember Sean Gleason telling me, hey, like we've got a guy that might be interested in a team, and he's coming from the NASCAR world. I was just sitting there talking to Austin. I was like, hey man, supposedly this guy from NASCAR is interested in buying a team. And he's like, oh, it's my grandpa. So that's how we became friends. 5 or 6 years later, I'm on their team, and yeah, I mean, they're just a great group of people, though. They get it, coming from the NASCAR background, like they understand teams, they understand how all of this works. And, I think everything that they have to deal with from a pit crew to the minor details of having everybody work together for one goal has been huge for us. It's been a different approach. It's been more the mindset type deal. It's not the first year it was, we're going to run y'all ragged and see what y'all are made of. But the last 2 years it's been, okay, let's really think about the process of how we do this. It's more of the mental side of things.
Yeah. And I should have rephrased that. I don't think it's bad at all to have them present, but what they use and the tools put to use during the training is extremely important. And you can see it in y'all's over the past 2 years, the evolution in your guys' training. It doesn't look anything like the first year. And the mindset is huge. Do you use any kind of visualization? Getting on?
Yeah. So like I'll go through and do my homework. I like to watch video, like the bulls that I ride. Not necessarily just to get a game plan on which direction they're going, but you can always look at an animal and tell what he's going to feel like. I feel like that's more or less my mindset. Like I want to know if he hits hard on his front end, and then I will watch myself ride that bull in my head 15 times a day. To me, like, I think that's been huge. Visualization and going through it in your head and seeing yourself be successful, that's all huge to me, because most of the time, if you can see it and go through it over and over and over, you can make it happen.
Absolutely. So I want to get into a little more specifics. A lot of young athletes we talk to have a hard time with visualization. And I think a lot of it is mostly they haven't covered a bull or covered a horse yet. They haven't been on one long enough to know what it feels. So for someone that was going through that, but still wanted to work on their visualization, how would you, or what would you suggest a younger athlete do in that situation where maybe they haven't been there 8 seconds, but they want to start working on visualizing?
You got to slow the process down. I think everybody wants to go and think about it as a real life speed. I think if you take it step by step, get on a drop barrel and just see yourself, going through each step slowly, I think that would be super helpful. Everybody wants to get in real life form and get on the back of a bull and it just come together. Ethan, the other day, he got back to the chutes after he had just rode one. I think he was 88 or 90 or something like that. And his eyes were like this big around. And he's like, I don't even know what I just did. Like, that was the first time at that level that he had done that. And so, like, it's obviously going to be super fast for guys to begin with. But, like, for me, I can be on the back of a bull. And, like, the other day on Skippy, I was on the side of him. And I could see the clock when I came around. And it was, like, 6.5. And I was like, okay, we still got a second and a half. Like, hold on.
It slows down as you go for sure. But, it does all happen so fast in the beginning, and it makes it very difficult for guys to try and visualize. Because again, like you said, they're going 100. They're like, I nod my head, and then, oh my God, I don't know what happened. It's like, no, like slow motion.
Yeah, slow everything.
Yep, exactly. No, that's so important, man. And it takes practice too. We talk about guys start visualizing. My brother talked about this when he was younger, but like he'd literally buck himself off in the middle of visualizing and be like, what did I just do? I just fell off at 5 seconds. I got to redo this. And so he would do it over until he got it right. But that's everything you've talked about today so far, just is doing the thing that you're doing correctly and then getting good reps at that thing, no matter what. It seems to be a really good plan. I want to jump into where you think where bull riding is heading, where the sport is heading, because I have so many theses about this, and I think that the team deal, I hopefully will come over to the professional rodeo side, because I think that could be a huge thing. We kind of saw a taste of it with the Kid Rock and Rodeo, but as you said throughout this whole episode, the sport of bull riding is evolving and has been evolving really rapidly over these last 5-6 years.
Yeah, no.
Where do you think it's heading?
I think it's hard for me to say where it's heading, but I would love for it to head to more of a team concept. I think, especially on the PBR side of things, we'll start seeing more of that in the UTB, where there should be, to me, like, I would love to see a world champion come out of this as an individual team or an individual person in the teams. Like, I love the way that, it makes each person work together, but, it also builds me up. Like, it makes my why a whole lot more, I guess, per se. But I don't know. As far as where the teams are headed or where rodeo's headed as general, it's hard to take something that's been around for so long, just say, okay, we're going straight to teams, so we're going to change this up, because you're going to lose so many fans doing that, I feel. But, just back in the day, I can't remember what it was called with the rodeo, where they would have these, team competitions, Challenge of Champions, I think is what it was called whenever I was doing it. But, like, if we could take and do some of that stuff like that, like, that's huge. You get, obviously you get ownership groups involved. You start getting outside influences like Kid Rock and things like that. Like, that's huge for the sport. And if we're ever going to grow, everybody wants to see rodeo athletes make $1 million, but they don't want to see it go a different direction. You can't be that way. You've got to have an open mindset to grow and expand. And if you're going to reach a different audience, you got to do it a different way. That's my 2 cents.
Man, I love that. Change is good. Change is good. If you could change one thing about the sport to improve it for future generations, what would it be?
Just the number of bulls, or, the number of reps you get. Make less reps count for more.
Man, That's a huge piece of advice, and we've been preaching that for a minute. Go ahead, Paul.
So yeah, real quick, do you foresee people following in your shoes? Like I know that Silvano said that he was going to be done with regular individual competition. Like, do you see like maybe Sage moving? Maybe not specifically Sage. Like we don't have to predict their future, but like, do you see guys following in your footsteps doing what you did as far as taking that time off to recover and just focusing on teams?
I do, and I think, I thought at the beginning of the year they were probably waiting to see how I would react and how I would come back. But yeah, I mean, I do think that there will be guys that in the next couple of years go straight to teams. I think I was kind of a big test, and I was a big question mark. So hopefully I've answered those questions, and they feel confident that if they do the same, that they won't lose a step.
I'd say you've turned the question mark into an exclamation point at this point in time.
Yeah, no, it's been great, man. One question I have for you is, you guys, especially on the PBR scene, you deal with a lot more fans on a face-to-face level, right? You're seeing them at rodeos, at events. They're going to these autograph signings for you guys. Can you, like, what's a memorable time that you've had with a fan or interaction that you've had with a fan?
And there was this, and they had been coming since 2015, like since I'd been there. And I can probably tell you on one hand how many events that I didn't see that. They would get in their RV and they would go and go and go. Well, one day the lady didn't show up and she had passed away. And that was just like super sad. Like you don't realize those little moments like that with like the fans and stuff, like how normal that becomes to you.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's also a big thing with me and my writing. Like the more normal I can make it sometimes, and the more at home I feel, the better, So yeah, like fans mean a lot. That was a sad moment, but like we get to see some of these people week in and week out. Like it's like they're on
part
the
of the family.
Yeah. Like they're going.
Yeah, that is sad, but that is a really cool thing to hear about, how you looked for a moment every time you went. You were up, you're at a place
like
you're
your
looking for.
grandparents, like, where you at? Like, what are you doing?
Grandparents. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Man, that's so cool. All right, I got some rapid fire questions for you.
All right, let's go.
Favorite bull you've ever been on?
Smooth operator.
Oh, that was quick. He knew. Who would you say your toughest competitor is?
Myself.
Oh, all right. Besides bull riding, what's your favorite event to watch?
Probably bareback riding.
Hell yeah. I was going to say, you're never coming back on here if you get this wrong. Last
tough,
one.
I was thinking bareback riding, saddle bronc, or steer wrestling. Those are my three favorites.
Yeah, I like watching it all, to be honest, except for them. I'm not a huge team roping fan. Unless it's fast. This is the NFR's team roping. I love watching that. Anything at the NFR I like watching. Last one, pre-ride bub song.
Oh, man. Sage is always playing Lauren Daigle, so we'll go with that.
Hey, all right.
Yeah.
That's cool. I could dig that. Guys, you got anything else for Coop before we get off of here?
I think we'll look back in the not so distant future, and this will have been a chapter, you going straight teams. And I just want to, just give you all the kudos and respect your decision a lot. I know it was a big question mark for you and it was kind of a big gamble, but I think that the future of professional rodeo, not just bull riding, will thank you for stepping out on a limb. And I am tickled to death for you and very, very excited to see where this new chapter takes you, because the rest of professional rodeo is coming along with you.
Well, I appreciate that, guys. And I know I rambled some today, but no, it does mean a lot to me that to be able to do what I do, and hopefully can do it a lot longer. So that was my mindset with it, but appreciate you guys for having me on.
Dude, absolutely. And thank you so much for coming on. When's the next game?
We are riding tomorrow. I don't know who we play. That's also another thing. I try not to keep up with that. Doesn't change a thing. So
I love that too, man. I love that too. What you catch it on CBS?
You can catch it on Merritt Street.
Oh, Merritt Street's right. Sorry, my bad. Yep,
No,
forgot about that.
Yeah, that thing's been awesome. So, yeah, catch it on Merritt Street.
Cool. Everyone download that. I think they have a viewing app. And then social media, where can people find you at? Follow you guys at?
Follow me on Instagram, Facebook. I think my handle's Cooper T DAV. But follow me on there. And also, if you like to hunt, you can follow 8 Second Outdoors.
Heyo, I'm leaving tomorrow for elk hunt, archery elk hunt.
Nice. That's awesome.
Dude. Yeah, I'll send you some updates.
You ever been?
Yeah, I killed my first bull last year with a bow.
Nice.
And
Yeah, it's probably my favorite hunt.
oh, dude, it's so awesome. We'll have to get together and go kill stuff.
Let's do it.
Awesome. Thank you, brother. Guys, until next time, we'll catch you later. Rodeo Now app allows you to record, upload, and catalog your rides and runs, review your performances in slow motion, and our favorite feature, if you're not familiar with your stock draw, you can search your animal by name to get all the intel you need to make your next ride a winning one. Join the rodeo revolution today and download the Rodeo Now app for free. It's available in the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. Hui has the best gear because it's tough, it's durable, it withstands the test of what we put it through, and that is why I am a big supporter of Hui brands. Guys, from hats, apparel, whatever you need, they've got you covered. They are the perfect blend of rodeo style and athletic performance. You can check them out at huibrands.com. Use our discount code ChampionLiving, all one word, is going to save you a little bit at checkout. If you want to learn more about our coaches and program options, make sure to swing over to our website at www.championlivingfitness.com. You can fill out the Become an Athlete form to set up your free consultation and have all your questions answered by a coach.